I often feel like, this was a big move, right? I mean, that's, I think, an understatement. You have the corporate, you have the creative side, you're firing on all cylinders, but this wasn't your words, but there was a no fulfillment or a real lack of fulfillment and that personal power. While you were expressing yourself, you weren't fully self expressed. And you said you got to a point. What was that moment? I mean, as much as you want to share, there's always that moment, and then the
Yeah.
courage and the valor that it takes to make the choice, right? And was it instantaneously? It came over you like a bucket of hot water, and you ripped the cord, or because that moment is the inflection point, and then it's wow, there's nothing, which is exciting because as a creative person, with nothing you can do anything, but nothing is also unknown, and it's quite frightening.
Unknown is scary. I think for me, it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was something that had been building over a
Hmm.
couple of years. This feeling of unease, this feeling of unhappiness, this feeling of, I don't, I was just lost. I didn't know why I was acting anymore. I didn't know if I was doing it because that's what I had been doing, or if it was because I actually enjoyed doing it. I looked at my corporate career and I could see where that was going. I was like, okay, if I stay on this track, I'm gonna get promoted to vice president of this or that, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's what I want to do, and I just had this kind of melancholy,
Yeah.
and I just got into a place in my life where I just was like, I need to make a change.
Hmm.
And I will also add, I had a mother who had a severe mental illness. And that, sometimes we learn from what not to do. I had an
Right.
example in her of this is where my life could take me if I continue on this path. I
Yeah.
knew it. I knew
Yeah.
if I kind of stayed in this place of unhappiness and didn't do something drastic to change the trajectory of my life, I
Yeah.
knew I had a
Yeah.
living example of what that could look like.
Right. Well, and thank you. I know I detoured you a little bit, and thank you for, something so personal that you shared. The reason I ask is because this fascinates me on our podcast. And for those who haven't, please subscribe and share with your neighbor and your friend and the people you act with and the people in your corporate job and anybody and everybody. Like us, love us, comment, share. you know, our guests have shared, they don't have the same story, the same through line, the same script as you, but they share these moments where whether it was a slow burn and it was over time or it was a cold water over the body type of moment. And what I always kind of intervene or stop, I'm curious about is that moment because I just want to underscore this, especially many of our listeners are meeting professionals who are in a chaotic, high stress, high demand, very competitive environment. They're producing these incredible moments of meaningful experience. And there's always a moment where you have to collect yourself and be true and connected with your power. No different than that moment where when you said, I'm done, enough, whether it was dramatic, traumatic, whatever, comical, um, the new journey begins. Whether it's not exactly where you are today, when you took that step, it was huge. And I call them it's a slow burn. That in Hollywood, as you know, they say the overnight success. Yeah, the overnight success took 20 years.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt was down in Westlake Village spinning a Pollo Loco sign, while doing community theater up in Agora Hills or whatever until he got his, got some traction. So I'm sorry I just intervened there, but I just want to share with our audience how important it is, that all of us, whatever level, whatever stage, there's that moment and there's runway for you. Go for it, right? So anyway, continue. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
No, no, no. I think you're absolutely right there. And I think it also comes down to trusting yourself. You have to trust yourself because I
Right.
think
But
we're
when you're in that insecurity and you're in that self doubt and you don't know, have a sense of your direction and your purpose, it's kind of feeding itself in the opposite direction. Right. That's why I'm just so fascinated by this courage,
Yeah. But I think even in our insecurity, we still have a connection to our intuition. We
Totally.
still have a connection to that gut. I don't know what it is. Something is pushing me. Like you just
Yeah.
got something's pushing you from the
Yeah.
back. Like just
Right.
go, or just the whisper, I
Right.
need to go do this. You don't know why, you don't know
Yeah.
where it's going to lead, but something's telling you, nah, you got to change. We got to do something
Yeah.
different here. And I think the courage is in just taking that small
Yeah.
step. I
As
didn't
much as
know
we hide and as much as we cover, deep, deep, deep
deep
down in the
down.
deep end, we know.
We know. And I didn't know it was gonna take 5 years. If somebody told me it's gonna take 5 years, I probably wouldn't have done it. I thought it was only gonna be a year. Like, really, I thought, "Oh,
Right.
yeah, I'm just gonna take a year off and find myself
Right.
and do some meditate."
Five
But
years. That's a
5
couple of
years.
Olympics.
Yeah. So, to anybody who's thinking, who's listening to this and they might be going, "You know what? I'm feeling that whisper, or I'm feeling that push, but I don't know what's going to be on the other side, right?" You talked about that uncertainty. Uncertainty is scary. Just take a small step. That really is all that's needed. Is take the small step, and that step will lead you to the next step, and that step will lead you to the next step. And it's about following the breadcrumbs that life really does give us if we're open to it, if we're listening, if we're looking. Just take the one small step and
Yeah.
just live there for a while, and then the next lily pad will present itself, and then you can hop to that one.
Yeah.
So yeah.